To those of you who are here live, welcome. To those of you who are watching the replay, welcome. And for our AJA Lunchtime Live today, we have Susan Hargreaves here to talk about kids and animal advocacy. So again, whether you have children of your own or you recognize the vital role that kids will play in the future of animal issues, you're in the right place. So before I let Susan speak, I need to introduce this amazing woman. Susan Hargreaves is a 42-year veteran of the animal rights movement. Just take that in, folks, for those of you who are just starting your journey, 42 years. For those of you who are in Toronto like myself, you might know her from ARC2 or Animal Voices CIUT radio series back in the 90s before she relocated to Florida. And Susan is a kindness educator, an author, a speaker, and activist. She's rehabilitated wildlife and investigated animal cruelty in circuses, rodeos, and the animal-based agriculture industry. She founded the youth empowering charity Animal Hero Kids to prevent the animal cruelty she has witnessed by fostering empathy and compassionate choices in youth. And she has run the annual Animal Hero Kids Awards events to recognize courageous, kind, creative youth. And she is now, has just pivoted the organization and is now called Be an Animal Hero. So Susan, welcome to AJA.
Thank you so much. I was so thrilled to hear from you, Kimberly, and to be invited on here because I've been hearing about the Animal Justice Academy. Aww. A lot of the Animal Hero kids and teens were so excited. I think it was over the summer saying, we're doing Animal Justice Academy. And I'm like, what is that? And Sandy also contacted me when you were doing it. And I said, well, I want to know all about Animal Justice Academy. And here I am.
Oh, amazing. Well, yes, I've known of your work for quite a long time, and I've always had it sort of earmarked, bookmarked that I would like to have you on. So this is a real pleasure for me too. And, Susan, before we get into the kids stuff, I mean, you are an OG in the animal rights movement. I mean, you even predate my involvement in the AR scene in Toronto. I think I jumped in around 2005, and you were like on the scene and so active back in the 90s. What was it like back then? In the 80s and 90s?
Yeah. In 1980, me and Pearl Shore and Merlin, sometimes from Action Volunteers for Animals, Merlin Anders, we would just be on the corner of Yonge and Bloor when people would be coming up from Hudson's Bay with blown up photos of wolves in leg hole traps. And we were the only two people there every Saturday in all weathers, freezing cold weather, of course. And so we were in 1980 was when I first began investigating the stockyards and the slaughterhouses around Kiel and St. Clair, which at the time did not have big, tall fences. It's different there now. And where Toronto Pig Safe started their slaughterhouse vigils, there was no fences there either. It was completely different. So I posed as an agricultural student to go into the Kiel and St. Clair stockyards. And so since then, 1980, when nobody knew what the word vegan meant, actually. You might as well be saying you're a Martian. Hello, I'm a Martian. With as much as people understood it. So we've gone through like great changes, really.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, Susan, your kind of work set the scene for, Toronto has one of the most robust animal rights scenes in the world.
It does. And it really, ARC2 had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
ARC2 and Vicki Miller, we all started it at that time. The Festival for Animals in the mid 80s really did a lot of inventive, creative, colorful direct action that got a lot of newspaper coverage, got a lot of discussion going on, and changed a lot. Because that, as you know, the politics of change sort of goes like that, discussion, ridicule, laughter, until it's finally like an adoption or an adaptation of a changed society. And I remember getting a call from CBC National Radio to do an interview when I lived in Toronto, and I was with ARC2. And he said, "Oh, you used to be with that. You used to be that really radical group, ARC2, and now you're not radical anymore." And I said, "Well, we haven't changed. Your perception of us has changed. Your perception of what needs to be done has changed."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People.
Yeah, animal rights veganism has come so far since you started 40 plus years ago, and even just exponentially in the last 5 years. So it must be just so inspiring to watch and satisfying, I'm sure, for you.
Still a lot needs to be done, as all your viewers know, and you know, and legally, and meaning for laws and otherwise, really a lot still needs to happen.
So much.
We're all here looking at it and wondering what the best steps are.
Absolutely.
Set.
We still have a huge mountain ahead of us, but we can at least look back and see the little slope we've come up so far.
Celebrate the victories. It's so important. Celebrate the victories. Yep.
Absolutely. So Susan, tell us about how the kids' animal advocacy happened for you. A little bit about what inspired you in the first place, and tell us a little bit about what you built out of that.
Okay, I will, but I have Lovey scratching at my office door.
Go for it.
Scratched to leave my lap. Now she's scratching to come back in.
As long as we can see Lovey when Lovey comes back. So Lovey is 21 years old, folks. And Lovey has been Susan's constant companion. And Lovey is a bit of a celebrity. Lovey appears on television and at appearances. There's Lovey.
Lovey's a vegan, by the way.
Hello, darling.
She was rescued from the pound here. She was in the kill side, and she's now 21. And
my goodness,
she is so comfortable and relaxed when I do school assemblies, just as relaxed as she is now, because as long as she's being held, she knows that I'm not going anywhere and everything is fine, you know. She was stray. She was a stray doggy.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, hopefully most of our folks here know this, but, you know, we hear a lot about the kill shelters in the US, but just FYI, like there's a lot of our pounds, our city municipal pounds in Canada are kill. You know, they euthanize a lot of animals. Like I know in the Toronto Animal Services, I think their euthanasia rate is it was at 50% the last time I heard. So just an FYI, if you are adopting, I tend to donate to the humane societies that are no kill, but if I'm going to adopt, I actually adopt from the shelters that have euthanasia.
I always say that's the first place that I point people to is animal control or animal pounds. Do you still have pound seizure?
Yeah, I mean, they're called animal services, but it's a pound. Yeah, it's the city pounds. Yeah. So, okay. So Susan, sorry, I got you off track.
We're off track. Typical, you know, it was Lovey's fault.
Yeah, of course, Lovey. You're allowed to do anything, Lovey. So kids advocacy. Tell us how you got there and where it's taken you.
Well, I went to Centennial College for early childhood education, and I worked in the Metropolitan Toronto Community and Social Services, it was called at the time, which is basically like Ontario Housing Projects, which is where I basically grew up, the Ontario Housing Projects in Toronto, Glendower, Birchmount, and Finch. And I wanted to work in those projects with the kids. And I had become aware of the massive amount of animal abuse that was incorporated into our daily lives without us even realizing it. And I thought, well, why don't I mix the two? Helping children. I love children, and also helping animals. It's sort of like perfect combination for me. And it's not that I completely did that. I also, and still am, an animal activist, focusing on what needs to change and being out there on the front lines, but then also inspiring and preventing animal abuse. Because the fact is that if we don't prevent animal abuse, we're going around trying to stop gushing taps. We have to go to the source, and the source is to foster empathy, which is the building block of kindness. So I had to look at it holistically, because it's so overwhelming, as everybody probably watching is aware. It can be overwhelming when we think of all these individuals, and we know they're each and utter individuals that are being harmed. And they have just as much personality as Lovey does. And it can be completely overwhelming picturing how they feel and how bewildered they are at the suffering that they are under. So I thought, I have to figure out the best way to stop it. And there are also, the best way to stop it, as you know, is getting media attention. So I created a lot of colorful attention getting protests in Toronto that got a lot of media attention. And then also at the same time was working at Jane and Finch and the areas for early childhood education in the centers there. So when I was 9, I was taken into a chicken hatchery when I was visiting my Aunt Alwyn in England. And I saw all the chicks getting gassed and suffocated. And I looked to the adults to help the chicks, because I knew, hey, this is wrong. Adults, look what's going on. Do something, which is what children do, don't they? You look to the adult to like, oh my God, look what's happening, do something. And in fact, it was business as usual. And I thought, well, I don't want other children to ever feel this way. I didn't think that when I was 9, obviously, but it really factored in to the point that we as children don't feel empowered to help other animals. We're patted on the head, and yet here we are, we're seeing the world in a fresh light. So when we can see as children when something is wrong, like immediately, like this is wrong. But yet the adults, a lot of times, they're used to it. So they're like, what? We always eat animals. What do you mean, what is a chicken? So I would give tours when I was lucky enough to have an education center one time, and where there were some rescued animals, and the Girl Scouts came through, and this one young Girl Scout said, when I was talking about chickens and how they do dust baths, said to her mother, but this is not the chickens that we eat. And the mother said, no, that's different kinds of chickens. It's a different type of chicken. So that the children do know pretty directly and immediately that it's wrong. Most kids have to be forced to eat meat. So how, I thought, can I use this in a way where, yes, I'm empowering children and teens to act and make a difference, and I'm going to help them lift up their message however I can, but I also want to amass them into a can't ignore force. Because, and I also would like to lure adults with them,
Yeah, right.
Isn't that terrible? It sounds terrible. So I'm like, okay, look at the cute little boy with the cat, and he's helping the cat. Now come in and learn about these wonderful stories of kids helping animals. And also learn how they are helping actually farm animals like chickens. And so it's sort of like, come on over here, look at this beautiful beautiful story. Listen to this beautiful story of rescue and courage and kindness. And now realize that all animals need rescue. And you can be an animal hero too. So it's kind of like it's my kids being kind to animals are like a gateway into realizing that we need to help others. And often crusty old cynical commissioners and legal like governments and so on, they're tired of listening to adults. But then if I, like one time I had 7 children speak to the Florida Fish and Game Commission about banning coyote penning, and it passed because these commissioners that are hunters listened to the kids. They didn't listen to me as much as they listened to this 12-year-old. Coyote penning, for anyone that doesn't know, is where you take a coyote and a fox in a closed area and have them be ripped apart by dogs until their death. And that's called coyote penning or fox penning. And was at the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission meeting, which at the time was called Fish and Game, which we called Squish and Maim because that's what they did really. One 12-year-old said, I am on my basketball team, I'm on my swim team, but if coyote penning was a sport, I'd be ashamed to call myself an athlete. And you could have heard a pin drop in that room. So
it's kind of like seeing things through the eyes of kids makes it fresh for us. Like we can look at these things that have become normalized and go, wow, that is bonkers. Like really, when you look at it, completely bonkers.
So it's also, people don't have their blinders up, or they're like, oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell it. They're like, so it's a way to sort of like it's a wedge. It's a wedge thing. So I am all about figuring out which wedge will work with which person in which circumstance. And I want to do everything within my power to use my skills to change as many people and have them realize that, because here and in Canada, a lot of people think they're animal heroes. A lot of humans think they're animal heroes because they've adopted, but they don't, like adopt a dog or a cat, but they don't realize that 3 times a day they're paying someone else to kill and abuse and bully and burn other animals, and then they sit down and put their forks in the animal. I'm not judging those people, but I want to use their their thoughts of wanting to help animals, because people are generally want to be kind, to open the door to what's really happening, to the reality of lives for other animals.
So Susan, can you just give us a quick little overview of what Be an Animal Hero, the aspects of that organization? Because there's all sorts of things you are doing with that organization.
So it's Animal Hero Kids, as you know, that I founded, but I found that now the term kids in the title started to work against me. And adults were saying things like, I don't have kids, I don't like kids, that's not, that your message isn't for me. And then kids, once they get to be 12, they're like, I'm not a kid anymore, who are you calling a kid? I am now a teenager. Like, no, you're still 12, but okay. So all right, we're gonna have to Be an Animal Hero, which is exactly back to when I started it. Because I actually have a film with a lot of celebrities in it that I play in schools called Be an Animal Hero. So it's so I thought, okay, it's time to inspire all ages to be animal heroes, and it also helps me to be taken more seriously, because the kids thing started to work against me, where people just said, oh, that's so cute, and then they didn't listen to me any further than that. It stopped. So it restricted. And since I've been using Be an Animal Hero, I've spoken at Rotary clubs to adults, and I've also gotten a lot of good media. I think I sent you a little video that ended up on Yahoo News and MSN, all about being an animal hero, the report was, but also about being vegan for the environment. I got that message in. So it's about expanding the message. Now, Be an Animal Hero, the project, and Animal Hero Kids, the charity, is all volunteer, very small. People look at our website, if you go to it, animalherokids.org, which has the new Be an Animal Hero logo, a project of Animal Hero Kids. People look at it and they think, oh my gosh, they really have it together. Look at all the celebrities who are supporting them. Paul McCartney, has a quote, and Joaquin Phoenix, and they say, hey, can you do this, or can you help with that, or can you? And meanwhile, it's sort of like the Wizard of Oz, and I'm the Wizard of Oz.
With most animal organizations.
With most animal organizations, and that's the way it is. We have a big job to do, and we have a limited amount of resources to do it. So it's all volunteer, and Animal Hero Kids, or Be an Animal Hero, really needs as much help as possible. Even with the day-to-day things like computers and technology, and Instagram and social media, and we don't even have a TikTok account. So we are really dependent on volunteers to help, because I'm also a volunteer. We're all volunteers.
Okay, so, well, good for folks here to know, because we have a lot of organizers and action takers here.
That's good. Because yes, we definitely need help. And there's a lot of projects that are coming out too that need help getting out there into society, really mainstream. They're geared to attract the mainstream. So yes, go ahead.
I want to talk more about that, because there's so many exciting things.
Your ear off if you let
me. Yes, exactly. But we've got a lot of questions coming in, sort of fast and furious, Susan, about like being able to sort of navigate with kids and animal advocacy. So I guess the first question that I'd like to pose is, with those that have kids in their life, whether they are a parent, an aunt, an uncle, or a family friend to kids, I've been hearing people sort of needing some guidance because kids are a whole different ballgame when it comes to animal advocacy. So can you start from square one on, tips on how to teach children about animal issues in a way that they can best get it without traumatizing them? And that's a tough, road to sort of walk, right?
It's something that I learned to do as I navigated all the schools and the ages of kids that I created interactive elementary school presentations where the kids dress up as the animals, a day in the life of a jungle family or Free in the Sea, and they become the animals in these interactive plays and present it for their fellow kindergartners or first graders. And it demonstrates the challenges that the animals have and their animal families. And so that's a way that it's a great way to learn, because they're in the animals, that particular animal's world, and what needs to happen to help that animal. But then kids love other kids, so that's why the stories from the Animal Hero Kids book of kids their own age helping animals is something that they can already empathize with, or they can adapt it. They know they could adapt it into their own lives because there are kids their own age doing it. It's also very valuable and empowering, because it's like, okay, they're doing that, I can do that too. They went and like for instance, we have Josephine, who was driving with her parents the side of the road, and they saw a free bacon sign, and in a cage on the side of the road in Virginia was that. And now Josephine is grown up with Franny. So there, it's also very comforting for other children to realize that there are children around the world that feel just like they do. I mean, I was very much alone in wanting to stop the seal clubbing in my school in 7th grade at John Buchan. And it can be a lonely place, not as lonely today, thank goodness, for kids who really feel sensitized to the suffering of other animals. I'm very cautious when new volunteers come on board. They have to sign something that says that they won't do certain things in our charity's name that might be considered traumatizing to kids, or to sit like, it's up to the parent if they would like to go and take their child to like a slaughterhouse vigil or something. That's up to them. But we as an organization don't do that for a number of reasons. So I want to preserve the wonder of the world in children and not traumatize them. So there are certain ways that I speak when I go into schools about what's happening to animals that's dependent on the age. So like, for instance, telling one story, I might say, there's a story about whistleblowers here in Florida, one whistleblower, and his friends were using piglets for paintball practice. And so if I'm talking to first graders, I'm not going to say specifically that there was one piglet that was blinded, or I'll just say harming piglets. They wanted to harm piglets, and they saved and they rescued. But then for the older crowd, I can say more of what actually happened, so be more specific. So
and what would the older crowd be, Susan? Like when does that age sort of morph that their systems are able to handle more graphic sort of descriptions and more of the truth?
You also have you have to balance and walk that line with being asked to come back to the school. So I want to be asked back. And it was like 25 years ago, I was banned from one school just for mentioning the word vegetarian.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And was told that they don't talk about alternative lifestyles. That's what I was told. Meanwhile, I was voted as the best speaker, and that was a middle school. But now, fast forward 25 years later, teachers are asking me to talk about factory farming. They're asking me, so it's a lot more open now as before. But I would say high school, not necessarily middle school, but high school. I would be, I could say to the teacher beforehand, this is what I want to show. Do you think, and I could do a little warning, this might be disturbing to some. So that's one way to do it. But generally, I start a program or a presentation with a lot of questions, very interactive. I'm not there just to say, oh, look how horrible, look at these horrific pictures. I'm there to inspire them to ask questions and do it in a way where I'm telling the stories of rescue. But then sometimes, like when I spoke with the Miami-Dade College, and I spoke to like 200 at a time, and I got letters after from students that went vegan. That was my State of the Animal Nation presentation, which is for college and university and high school. And the State of the Animal Nation goes and just says what the State of the Animal Nation is. What's happening to all these animals, that species, what's happening to that species. And a lot of the students said to me, but those pictures that you showed, that's not happening anymore. right? Those are old pictures. That doesn't happen anymore, like the chicks being gassed and suffocated. That's like in the olden days, isn't it? So then it becomes an education to them.
Mhm.
They haven't, really been grossed out or, but that doesn't mean I don't say, for anybody that would like to watch more, you feel free to watch movies yourself, like Earthlings by Sean Munson, narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, or so I'll give other resources at the end of a program. So yeah, so as far as like, I don't believe obviously in terrorizing kids, and I wouldn't get my message across, and I wouldn't be allowed to do school assemblies. And so I just, like when I was on the Toronto Sky Dome stage at the Moscow Circus, I wanted to do a message for the children, and that was circuses hurt animals. So very simple, wording.
Right. So Kevin in our community asked any advice on influencing, educating other kids in my family who aren't mine, like nieces, nephews, cousins, children, etc.
And I don't mean to keep pushing my book, but Montessori schools use this. It's full of celebrities that kids look up to, their quotes. You can give this book and not be accused of being a vegan, rabid animal activist pushing your views on your entire family, even though that's what you are. Don't let them know that.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
say, look, I go into the schools from the viewpoint, oh look, this is so scrumptious. It has recipes, vegan recipes, and look at this story of the girl that helped the dairy cow, and it's so wonderful. It's kids helping all species of animals, and that's the way you do it. You don't say we want you all to go vegan, family or nieces, nephew. Do you know what your parents feed you, don't you? That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is with kindness to all species.
So really, really imploring that kids' sort of basic affection for animals. I mean, there's very few kids that I've come across who don't like squeal and delight over certain animals, and to be able to really capture that and expand that out to all animals is really the trick that you're talking about here.
That's exactly right. It's expanding it to all animals. And there are a lot of, you don't have to be a vegan child or a vegan teen or even a vegan adult to be an animal hero. I'm still getting used to being an animal hero. We want everybody to come in who's helping animals. We're not going to say you can't join just because you're helping a dog and you're not helping everyone. But what ends up happening is they learn more when they come in. They'll get the Animal Hero Kids book. They'll learn. I had one call from a small town in Alaska where the Animal Hero Kids book was in their library, like a real small town in Alaska. I had a call from the child, and the mother was there too, of course, and she was like 12, and she wanted to help dogs. She wanted to help dogs and no other animal, but yet she was so thrilled to find this book in her local library because nobody else wanted to help dogs. Well, then she learned about all the animals, and I sent her a book, and then she became active, meeting all the other animal heroes her own age that all over the world. And we did Animal Hero Tober together, where she locally did something. She made catnip toys, and then she also did vegan treats for the dogs in the shelters. So it was a natural, progression when they're surrounded by others that feel that way. And then you ask questions and you find out, just like we all. The Monique Martinez, who is the wonderful illustrator for Veganza Animal Hero, always says, remember, we weren't all born vegan, and we we didn't know. There was a time there we didn't know. So try to be patient with others.
Yeah, I mean, you just described the model of Animal Justice Academy. I mean, we invited all people who care about animals. So we had such a mix of people, some that were just focusing on elephants, some that are focusing on horses, and just to have all those, and even though we're approaching it from a vegan perspective, and an animal rights, animal liberation perspective, to just be able to welcome the good work that they're doing in there, and to be around other vegans and other positive animal rights activists and doing things together. I mean, turned a lot of people into animal activists for all animals.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Exactly. So that's exactly the same with us. We have a lot in common. And
so a lot of people are asking about the book, Susan, and Laura Lee is asking, can the book ship to Canada? I just went to order one and the default shipping is in the US. Do you know anything about that?
It's, if you're ordering from our website, it's really hard. This actually weighs a lot. It's almost 300 pages. So it costs us as much money to print it, to mail it to Canada from the United States. So the best thing to do is to order it from Amazon. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a review at the same time, that would be great, because we're like way on the bottom, because we're not paying any advertising on Amazon or any of these places. And you could also order it in your local stores, like I think it's Chapters and Barnes and Noble, but that's going to take longer. It's quicker to get it from, Amazon. And then a lot of times you don't have to pay for the postage sometimes.
Right.
So that's
Brigitte said, I'm certainly going to order a few copies for my library. It looks amazing. So Sandy said, we bought a copy, got its recipes in there, very colorful. So yeah. So, and then, so tell us a little bit about the Veganza book. Now, would that be a good tool for even younger kids?
Yes, this is more of a picture book. It's actually like beautiful artwork, and it's narrated by Lovey.
Oh, see, she is a celebrity.
Yes. Lovey's the narrator, and she Veganza has special powers, which is to freeze a scene where animal cruelty is taking place, and to make the perpetrators feel exactly what the animals feel. And then they wake up from that trance and they end up having empathy and kindness and change their lives. So Veganza Animal Hero has she lives in a banyan tree, and I'm always mispronouncing it. Over here they say banyan, like real American, but I say banyan, whatever. She lives there, and she flies, and there she is freezing a scene where a hunter is about to shoot mother bear and the cubs, and there's Animal Hero teams out there protesting the hunt, and she comes and she freezes the scene.
Amazing.
Yes. So the it is beautifully illustrated. I was so fortunate to find Monique on Instagram and ask her if she would illustrate it. So, and there's Lovey flying with Veganza.
Amazing.
And there's also the first vegan mermaid character in there.
Courage.
Courage, the mermaid. And together they help all species of animals go on all kinds of adventures. There's some Animal Hero teams. So you have to get the book to find out more.
Oh, now we're leaving us hanging. Susan, we got lots of other questions. I'm going to throw some more at you. Okay. Sandy asks, how can our kids influence their friends who eat meat? Any ideas, any tips around that?
Yes. You've probably thought of all of these things I'm going to say, because as you navigate, you've had to come across certain things, Sandy, I'm sure, which is like, have a party and have vegan goodies at the party. but do something different with that party that no one else in the school has done, like get a band with live music. Not just like over here, they do a lot of bounce houses and things like that. Like really think out of the box on something that is going to completely blow them away.
Like maybe a couple of, maybe an animal mascot or something like that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's true. We have like Ronnie B. Cow, like you could, depending on the age of the kids. So that's a good thing that you brought that up, because depending on how old kids are, you could actually have a sort of a puppet show with characters that will tell them why they love their veggie dogs, why all the pigs love that you're eating veggie dogs today, yum yum. And then they could take home little like finger puppets of farm animals. So it depends on how old they are, you know. So, and also an animal hero gives book.
Yeah.
But if they're older, like, you know, depending on the age, something that I endeavor and have focused on as part of attracting, let's say, teens. Teens are the toughest crowd you're ever going to get or meet. Let's face it. They're like hard, you know, I'm too cool and don't, you know, you're not going to touch me. But what helps there is celebrities that they look up to that are vegan. So why not do, let's say, for instance, a Billie Eilish themed birthday party, you know, or for instance, one of our kids, we went to the Billie Eilish concert and she got Billie Eilish money, which was like play money, and it had Billie Eilish on it or something. She went to school and she went from being the, you know, weirdo vegan to the she's got Billie Eilish money to give away in her class. So like whatever works, capitalize on it, you know, whatever works.
I would imagine also teenagers, I mean, they're so anti-authoritarian, you know, even just to be able to say, hey, this is what, you know, our society is doing to animals. This is what they're keeping secret. This is what they're hiding, you know, like stuff like that, I think, you know, appeals to teenagers kind of thing.
This is what they want you to think. Look at this happy cow ad. Now let's research what a cow's life is really like. And then a lot of times I'll say, hey, don't listen to me. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just saying research for yourself, Google it. And then think about this. What do I have to gain by you not buying animal products? All I have to gain is an easier night's sleep. What do the people selling animal products have to gain by telling you? And that gets them thinking.
So Caitlin says, I have a bit of a different problem in that my 9-year-old is vegan and extremely concerned about animals. He struggles to understand why his extended family members and friends at school do things he knows hurt animals, especially eating or wearing them. He has even called another kid a monster for eating animals, apparently. This is something I've had a lot of discussions with him about, but I'm curious as to whether Susan has any suggestions for how to help empathetic kids encourage others to be kind without unhelpful behavior like name calling.
That is really, I mean, let's face it, us adults feel like sometimes calling other adults monsters, you know, especially if they're family, like your brother or your mother or whatever, you know, it's like a whole different dynamic. It's a challenge. So first of all, your son needs a support network of other kids that are like him, that have the same problems, to talk to each other about how to handle those things. And also, I know it's a lot harder for kids to say, well, you know, I wasn't vegan once, or, you know, let's be patient. It's a lot harder. So that's why it's so important to have that support network of other kids that feel the same way. And I just did a Be an Animal Hero workshop recently, and that we're going to be putting the video out when the student finishes it. And it was an 8-year-old girl talking to college kids, part of it, asking about teasing, and the kids, they just answered each other, which was really great. I didn't have to, they were saying what they did that worked for them in schools, and also to know that they're not alone. That is so important, I think, for us all to know that we're not alone in our we're kind of like the walking wounded, I think, in that we're hurt by how other animals are hurt. And it's, of course, a 9-year-old is not going to filter like we adults do. And, we censor ourselves. They're going to be more like, I really wish I could say, you monster.
Yeah, sometimes it's cathartic. We almost have to do it in a place by ourselves. And just...
I know. That's why I love kids. They just say what they want. But meanwhile, the way, like, I would love to come to your son's school and do a presentation, because so even if you like donate the book to the school library, you give it to, and I could do a virtual thing all about being kind to animals and empowering youth, not even mentioning the word vegan. A lot of times when I do go to schools and there's like one vegan in this elementary school, they'll come running up to me in the hallway and give me a big hug, because they have now been saved by having everything all explained, but in a way that all of the kids loved it, and they clapped at the happy ending stories, so that's really,
and they're validated. They finally feel validated.
Exactly right. They're validated.
Well, and so Susan, I know, like, parents and those that have kids in their life, they probably would like some, it's probably good for them to know that they can think out of the box as far as their schools and their classes go. I mean, there are a lot of teachers I know in Animal Justice Academy who have, because teachers have a lot of power, have been able to bring humane educators into their classrooms, or taken it to the principal and had some sort of humane education, or visits to animal sanctuaries, things like that. Eleanor just said many sanctuaries have online school programs. And so, yeah, so just, in your experience, that is like, if you're a parent, could you go to a teacher and say, hey, I have this humane educator or this person that does this amazing presentation around animals and animal advocacy. Would you be interested? Is that something that you see done quite a bit?
Absolutely. If they lead with this book, this is a legitimizer. It's like, I know this author and she's willing to give a free presentation, and she's a teacher, and there's depending on the age of the teacher, or you could say, and there's a chapter by Paul McCartney. Does that really get them? They're like, wow, no, I shouldn't say on the age, because everybody shouldn't know the Beatles, no matter how old, a lot of people do. But it's like, whatever the mistake that a lot of times people do is they go in there and start preaching to them, and it just turns people off. And then they get that reputation of, oh, here she comes again, quick, close the door, she's going to start complaining about this and that. I just realized I have to plug in my computer, or else I'm gonna go. And so that's so bring in the book, and here you are now, you're giving someone a free resource, a free program, and of someone that is kind of known, and that other schools and libraries across the world are using it. So you're coming in there with something like a free, uplifting, empowering resource.
And we have, like, the Dairy Farmers of Canada giving schools and teachers all sorts of free resources that they can use to fill their time. So we need to step up as powerfully as they are in that way.
You're exactly right, Kimberly. When I graduated from Centennial College, I got so much free stuff from the dairy industry and the meat industry, big floor puzzles, all in color, like expensive things.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
That's right.
Okay, so Susan, let's talk about if there is a kid in one of our lives that is like they're very interested in helping animals. First of all, how can they be a part of your program, and what does that entail? And then also, you know, are there other ways that they can sort of kick off their animal advocacy outside of that?
Yeah, so I would speak to them. Normally, if someone joins, I will speak to the parent, depending on the age, of course. If they're teens, I don't necessarily have to do that after a certain age, but they would sign up as a volunteer. So that way I have the guardian signing up, you know, saying that they would like to join. And there's no cost, of course, to join, but I do suggest buying the Animal Hero Kids book, because that's a resource. It'll say how to organize a protest, how to start a school club in your school, how to speak with local government, how to put out a news release. So very practical things that you can do, and lots of ideas for activities for your friends to do it all together. So that's the first step, is filling out that volunteer form, getting the book. And then a lot of times locally, kids can do things in their own area as part of what we're doing. Like we have Animal Hero Tober each year. And like in Japan, one youth went and did a vegan cooking demonstration locally, and another in Brazil, one went to a restaurant and they ended up having an Animal Hero special for the whole month that was vegan, and then they left it on the menu. So there's also, we do things locally, in their own, individually in their own area, but then also all together, so they could feature in one of our videos. So we do music videos where I veganize the words in a song that they recognize, and then we have people sing it and dance it and then put that out. Or we have a plant milk taste tests where all of the kids and teens say which is their favorite milk. So then the parent would send me the video, and then if I'm lucky, I have someone to edit it. Need volunteers to edit, and then to put that out. And the really wonderful thing before the whole COVIDs was that we actually had funding to have a summit in 2019 in November, where we had some Canadian kids fly from Vancouver. We had King Zoom, the vegan kid, come from Vancouver, and kids from all over, where they all met in person and did activities together, where they decided what to bring home and how to be active in their own community. And one of the kids said to me, actually two of them, "This is the best day of my whole life." Because they're all together eating vegan food, you know, there was like 100 kids in the room that were all vegan. They never had anything like it before, you know. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
We can provide that that community, that sense of community. That's one of the things I really like about what we do, you know.
And so do you actually, you would actually match up some kids if there's Animal Hero kids in the same cities, you could match them up and let them know about each other. And if, you know, they're in a remote place, then they can join sort of online, and maybe, you know, maybe if there's a summit again, they can be part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have like, for instance, if we're focusing on when a fast food chain adopts some sort of a vegan meal, then we will help promote it in the community by giving out free samples to the people that are what I call pre-vegans. So we'd focus on different things, and when and also protests, like for instance, the Miami Seaquarium down here has Lolita, who's captured from 1970, And so some kids come and we protest it all together there. So sometimes we'll have protests as well that will help, and they can do something in their own area. So
Sandy asked, is there an Animal Hero chapter in Toronto?
I would love for someone to start an Animal Hero chapter in Toronto.
I think it would be, and so I think, one of the things that folks can realize is there's the Animal Hero chapters that are a possibility, but there's also lots of vegan and family groups like Angela, who's here today, has the Toronto vegan families group, which is very active. And, Facebook is a great place to find things like that. I'm sure Meetup is a great place to find things like that. Angela said there's a veg camp here in Ontario that's amazing for getting veg kids together. She says, but your gathering sounds amazing. I would love my children to be a part of that. Yeah.
So. And, I'd love to go when this whole COVID thing dies down, hopefully. Before it all started, I was scheduled to go on a book tour for Veganza, Animal Hero. And now we have the Veganza Claymation coming out, and another book that I've just finished writing the story this morning before I got on here, that is for all ages. It's Veganza Animal Heroes, but it's actually Courage the Mermaid and Freedom, who is a flying, well, I'm not going to give too much away, but Freedom is inspired by Corinne Sutton, the vegan bodybuilder that helps us a lot when we do programs in group homes. And we have a Veganza Vanza, which gives away free vegan food in the foster group homes and kids in distress and the domestic violence shelters. And I go in and do programs there that are very interactive. And I wanted to do a tour around, including Toronto, to screen Veganza, the Animal Hero claymation, like in an outdoor screening, and have free vegan food, and also the new book, and promote that and get it out there. So, I would love to. I sent a message to, because of course I know TVA because I used to do the veg food fair each year. So I'd like to screen that there.
At the next Veg Fest would be amazing. Yeah.
If anybody has connections there, and there's Sean Munson, the creator of Earthlings, has just finished editing last night a short documentary that's about 20 minutes called The Heart Whisperer that I'm very excited about. And that is really more for adults or high school student, because it shows some of what's actually happening to animals, what happens to chicks in hatcheries. But it's a really inspiring, I'm very optimistic about this film because it's very good for the pre-vegan mainstream.
I love that word, pre-vegan. Amazing. And Susan, I just have to say, you have all these balls in the air. It's unbelievable how much one person can do. Just so inspiring. Can we keep you for a couple of extra minutes? Because there's just a couple more questions I want to get in. We have the birthday girl, and I'm not sure who the birthday girl is. I just see birthday girl's comments, but I'm not sure.
Is it your birthday, or are you always called the birthday girl, or are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's her birthday today, but I don't know what the real name is, because I lost
your birthday suit, are you, on Zoom?
Yeah. So it's Angela. It was your birthday. You're the birthday girl. Okay, amazing. Happy birthday, Angela. I remember you having your birthday during AJA, the 6-week boot camp last year. So hilarious. Okay, so birthday girl is wondering, what can I say to adults about involving my child in protests, etc.? They tell me I'm brainwashing my child, even though they chose to join me on this on his own.
Well, first of all, get some new friends.
It's probably not friends. It's just people passing by that say, this is child abuse.
I'm just kidding anyway.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when you do go vegan, you do end up having a different set of friends. And then because they're more supportive and they understand why you're doing what you're doing. And what you can say is that your child is participating in the politics of change, which has a long history of changing the world for the better. I mean, it's like, for instance, nonviolent civil disobedience, Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement. The fact is that your child is really getting an education, because they're learning that they don't have to sit at home and be upset about something that's going on, that they could actually go outside and do something about it. And of course, is it strangers that the person is talking to, or is it family?
Like it. Sounds like it. Mm-hmm.
So then those are the same people that would say, get a job.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously take anything they say with a pinch of salt. And a lot of times if I'm protesting and somebody yells something out of the window as they go by, and it could be whatever, get a job, or I always react like this: thank you for your support. Thank you. And then they won't say another word, because it didn't work. Their meaning is to rain on your parade. And don't give them the time to rain on your parade. You don't have to explain to total strangers that are walking by, you shouldn't have your children there.
It would be great if the 5-year-old had an answer to it. That's, maybe there should be a little discussion.
But you don't know. I don't know, especially here in America, you don't know who that person is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
This is a total stranger. You don't want your 5-year-old to be talking to them, because you don't know what they're capable of.
That's true.
But it's better just to.
Yeah. I think some people think that they're being well-intentioned by saying, aren't you like, it's kind of, isn't this not a great place to have a kid out and about? And I love your answer of, this is my child's way of practicing empowerment. They are very upset by what's happened to animals, and this is their way of being able to express it. So this is great for them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, one more question. Someone asked, does Susan have recommended YouTube videos to show that are appropriate for a 5-year-old, so very young?
Well, that is all our videos.
Okay.
There's all of the videos on our YouTube channel and on our website are all other kids. So it's very, there's only one video that was made, and we took it off our website. I think it's off every page, which is where I talk about why Animal Hero Kids was formed and what I saw at the chicken hatchery. So then it shows some of what was seen at the chicken hatchery. So if you see why Animal Hero Kids, that's the only one. But everything else is definitely age appropriate for 5-year-olds. And I did send some links to Kimberly before, so we could maybe see one of them that kids everywhere of all ages would love. That's very positive. So
we actually, Susan, we have to wrap because we've gone way over time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some of those in the Animal Justice Academy group, and then folks can take a look and take their time and watch them. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And anybody that's watching, if you go to animalherokids.org, you can get in touch with me. So beautiful. And I'd really like to start planning a tour to promote the new Veganza claymation, which is
quickly tell us about that, because we need to get this in. You got a claymation movie coming out.
So many years ago, I spoke at a kindergarten in Miami Beach. Fast forward, a mother was wanting to volunteer. I spoke with her. She said her son just graduated from film school in New York and saw my presentation when he was a child and became vegan. And I said, is he by any chance a claymation filmmaker? And she said, yes, that's what he just graduated with. I said, well, do I have a job for him?
Amazing.
Wyatt Bergwin now has done a claymation film, and I'm fortunate enough to have Angela Means from the movie Friday by Felicia Lori Allen from Toy Story and Curb Your Enthusiasm is Lovey's voice. Wow. Gary Anthony Williams from Cancel Christmas is Jules the Crow. And Tara Strong, who is a Canadian, is Veganza, the voice of Veganza.
Tara Strong has done everything. She's been, she's a prolific voice actor. That's amazing. And how long does this run for, the claymation?
It's only like 5 or 6 minutes. And it's beautiful. And that's that's a tool that I would like to go on tour with, with the other tools, because I'm getting all these tools for all ages, really. The Heart Whisperer is the name of Sean Munson's original short documentary, which is for older, and I'd like to just take them on the road. I'm old-fashioned.
Absolutely. And we want to see you in person. We'd love to get together and watch films, especially outside. That would be amazing. And just for anybody who doesn't know who Sean Munson is, he is the director of Earthlings, the vegan maker, as we know it, narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. So Sean has done this short film on Susan, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, what a nice gentleman, really.
Wonderful. Well, okay, we have kept you for 15 minutes longer than we were planning, Susan, but we just, there's so much that we wanted to learn from you. Thank you to the AJers that stuck around. We, had a nice crowd. And Kirsten, can you take us off of Spotlight? And anybody who isn't on gallery view, so we can see Susan, if you can you see everybody now?
I have to go. What do I have to do? I have to go over here and do view.
Yeah, view and go to gallery.
Yeah, there. Hello.
Okay, so we just want to say thank you from the AJers for your wonderful time, your wisdom, and your 40 plus years of being just such a champion for the animals and for kids, Susan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure to see your faces today, and Ken's black kitty cat. That's very
yes. And I hope we get to see you in person soon, Susan. Folks, don't forget.
Please, look, you have to be in our next video.
Yes, the UNs have just been amazing. They are they're such campaigners. They've sent letters to politicians. They are a powerhouse. So you definitely have to lead the Toronto chapter, folks.
Yes, we need that, and we need TikTok.
Yes.
Help. So
I'm going to put in the video information, Susan, some of the volunteer roles that you need filled. Okay. So this might be a perfect match for a lot of folks.
Nice to see Angela's ginger kitty cat. Now
that's right.
Good thing that everybody wasn't on here while I was talking, because I would have been really,
yeah, you would have been so distracted. Oh, I see there is somebody else is the birthday girl. Hello, you really are the birthday girl today. Happy birthday. Well, we're going to call you the birthday girl. All right. So folks, don't forget that on February 24th, we have Nathaniel Erskine-Smith joining us. Hope we'll see you here in 2 weeks, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you, Lovey. Bye-bye.